All right, here we go. Today I'm going to introduce my wonderful guest, Tara Mullin. So, a little bit about Tara. Tara has studied health science and physiology in college. During college, Tara actually set up and ran her own dance classes, an adult cardio class, and summer camps for kids. Tara then moved to America for what was believed to be a summer, which actually turned into 10 years. Tara got hired with a major US airline and since then has severely got the traveling bug. Tara actually started as a Noom coach in 2020 to 2022 and then back to the airline before getting really into coaching in 2023. Tara now coaches group strength training, hosting classes for athletic performance, and coaching women in the one-to-one space. Hello, Tara, can you hear me?
Hello, Podge. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very, very clearly. How's it
Oh,
going?
good, good. It's fun to be on. I don't think I've ever been called an expert in anything before, so happy days.
Well,
I'll
here
take it.
here you are now, and I'm sure by the end of the hour, our listeners will definitely understand that you are an expert in your field. You're very, very good at what you do, and I'd love to kind of talk about that progression, Tara, kind of how you got into you have multiple passions, right? We can definitely go down the passion of traveling and what you're learning in those spaces. You've had the experience as a Noom coach. You have background in that, and you're currently doing coaching now. And like you're specializing, or you do have focus, or you've a lot of like thoughts and ideas when it comes to coaching women, particularly one to one, and how you're looking to kind of help women in that space as well. But I would love to start kind of just back around. We can maybe start around either college or prior. Like what really stood out to me with your profile. Like I was always been really fascinated. And for those who are unaware, myself and Tara, obviously we're good friends as well. So some stuff I isn't related to the intro. So you might be wondering how do we know that information? But I was always fascinated with when you kind of set up dance classes at such a young age. It always seemed to be this kind of either health and fitness or just interacting with people or dancing in particular as well are always keen interests of yours.
Yeah, it's pretty funny actually. So I have two sisters, and they're both gorgeous singers. Like they do singing for they'll do weddings, and they've been on they were on some talent show on TG Car and stuff, an Irish TV channel. For anyone that doesn't know, but they're both gorgeous singers. And my dad said to me that when he heard me sing for the first time, he'd teach me how to dance because singing was not going to happen. So my dancing background is basically just whatever my dad taught me in the kitchen. And then I did I did modern dance for a little while and I did ballet for a little while, but I wouldn't be like a dancer as such. I'm not somebody that like was professionally trained in or anything, but I always had an interest in it. I like dancing. I find it fun. It's a fun way to move your body. The dance classes that I set up, it was kind of like two things together. I was in college and I was broke and I needed to make money and I loved dancing. I loved dancing and I loved kids. So I was like, look, how about I just set up a little weekend class for kids and start teaching them? So that turned into I used to teach five classes on I think I did a class on a Friday night and then I would do three classes on a Saturday. So it's four total classes. And then that progressed into the adult cardio fitness, which was mostly dance based, but more kind of like throwing in some squats and push ups and whatnot.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's kind of where the dancing came into. And then summertime, it just turned into sports based camps for the kids and things. So I really loved it. I think that I've always been quite active, and it was nice to kind of put that together with kind of a business mindset and the fact that I think kids are so fun and put it all together. So it was a good time. It was a good time. I think it was about 19 years old when I started. And I did it until I think just before I came to America. So when I was about 21,
Tara,
maybe.
there's a feature on the Noom Vibe app, and this is for people maybe listening on Spotify or YouTube as well. But you can like click and give clap emojis. And as you were speaking about all the classes you were creating, there I could notice there was a nice few clap emojis going up for you. So
Eh.
some good support and something resonated. It's actually interesting timing. I won't stay too fixated around like where Noom are at this point, but they actually just partnered with Zumba. So when you were speaking about getting
Oh, really?
exercise through dancing, I was kind of that was in the back of my mind that it's a good way just to have a lot of fun, right, and be able to get your exercise in at the same time.
Yeah, it is fun. I always find that's like really doing Zumba's like quite distracting. Like you don't realize that you're working out. If you like dancing and if you like music, you don't realize you're working out. And
Hmm.
it's like that whole like group fitness sense, like you can meet people through it and stuff. So it's a good social outlet. I loved it. I've done Zumba when I went to Edinburgh for a year for college, and I used to do Zumba there, and I used to love it. So fun.
And so you were like, well, I suppose when you were younger, your sisters were the expert singers.
Yeah.
You were absolutely terrible. So as a result, you had to become like the dancer of the family. Did this have any link to why you wanted to do health science and physiology in college, or what kind of brought that about? Or was it kind of like maybe me, you had nothing else to, geez, I have to put something on my CEO. I need to do something after high school. I'm going to, or college or secondary school. I'm going to choose that.
But no, in secondary school, you have to. Obviously, the Irish people are going to know, but the American people won't. Basically, you do your 2 weeks of school, 2 weeks, 2 years of all of your subjects, and then you have to sit an exam at the end of it, and then you get points, and that kind of determines what you do in college. So I really actually want to be a home economics teacher because that was my best subject in school. And I feel like when you're in school, sometimes you're kind of only aware of like what's the jobs there that we're told about in school, like
Mhm.
teaching, nursing, I don't know, whatever like the guys and whatever girls did, like metalwork and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I did home economics and I loved home ec. It was my best subject and I really, really want to be a home economics teacher. But there's only one place in Ireland that you can do it, and
Sligo.
Sligo, and I was 20 points short. So I ended up just putting health science and physiology down on my thing because on my CEO, because I had an interest in it. I was like, look, I'll do it for 3 years. I know I'll enjoy it. And then I might go back as a mature student and do the home economics. But that's not how it played out in the end. I actually just stuck with the health science and decided to just keep going down that route. Kind of. We got sidetracked and we went to America.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just to add more context, maybe for people who are unfamiliar with the Irish educational system, like when you go into college, you have to go in choosing 100% what you want to do. So when Tara was saying she wanted to do home ec, like you actually go in specifically to do a course on home economics and teaching. Whereas I know in America, you maybe have some electives or some classes you can do, and then you can like choose your major after a few years or like as you're going, or maybe you know your major straight away when you go in and you can just like pick the classes that are towards that. But in Ireland, yeah, essentially if you do 2 or 3 years of home economics teaching and you decide at that time I don't want to do this anymore, like tough luck, you
Too
gotta
bad.
almost drop out and
you're
then
a,
restart
you're a
again.
home economics teacher. Too
Yeah,
bad.
you're stuck. Into work you go.
Yeah.
So you picked health science, physiology. You set up kind of like your dance studios, your cardio classes, and then you decided to move to America. Let's talk a small bit more about that. How did that come about?
Yes. Then, so I was born in Chicago, so I had dual citizenship. And I was going out with Shane at the time. He was my boyfriend at the time. Now we're married. So he is also an American citizen. He was born in New York. So I said to him, I asked him, did he want to go to America for the summer? And he said, maybe. So I booked my one-way flight with the intention of coming back at the end of the summer. It was supposed to be like an 8 week thing because my brother was in Chicago and I was just going to go stay with him for the summer. And then I asked Shane again if he wanted to go, and he said no. So I ended up heading away off, and I think that I was in Chicago for maybe 6 weeks before he decided he changed his mind and he wanted to come out to America. So we ended up staying 9 months that time instead of this the summer. It turned into nearly a year, I guess. And then went back to Ireland for Christmas. You know yourself, Fudge, what the weather is like. January, February, March is not the most inspirational or motivating weather. So we said we'll go back to America just until like maybe it's the summertime or just for like 6 months or something. So we Googled where's a nice place to live in America, and San Diego, America's finest city, popped up, and we said, okay, let's go. So we booked flights there with the intention of a 6 month max stay, and that was, I think, 9 years ago now.
That's yeah, it's actually wild to think it's 9 years ago, and it is standard when myself and Ashleen were coming out to
Mm.
America as well. I think we had that exact same Google search, like where's the best
Where's
weather?
good? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I see. We said like where's the best place to live, but I think we kind of forgot that like Chicago is a windy city. New York is the Big Apple. San Diego is known as America's finest city. So we just thought, oh great, this is a fine city to live in. Let's go.
They
Too close.
they got you with their marketing. Very, very clever, San Diego. Well done.
Yeah. I always say we should have Googled where is an affordable place to live in America, but here we are. At least I have a tan. It's
a,
fine.
a 10 close to the beach. It is, despite the extortionate cost, like it is a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. It's
It's
good you get to live there.
gorgeous. Yeah, it's hard to leave.
And talk to us as much as you like regarding the airline. Like you were saying, you did that and you just got a huge travel bug from there. And I know traveling is a really, really big part of yourself and Shane's life.
Yeah, it's huge. So with the airline, I kind of just thought, look, I'm going to be here for a couple of months. Like this would be fun to. I was working in a bar and I wasn't really enjoying it that much. So we have a good friend of mine, and yours, Podge, that works for an airline, and he said, "Why don't you go for it, Tara?" I was like, "Whatever, okay, I'll try." So I did an interview for the airline, got the job, and I said I will do it for a year. And again, what is it? 9 years later, I'm still doing it. So I mean, once you start the job, they do tell us that it's not a job, it's a lifestyle, and that's so true. Like being a flight attendant, it really, really impacts like all areas of your life. I don't know if like I don't think people really understand that when they think about our job and stuff, but it really does. It impacts like a lot. Um, but it also makes the world feel so small. Like to me now, I'm just kind of like I have friends spread out all over America, and like maybe you might drive from Kerry to Mayo to see your friends. That's how it feels for me to just hop in the plane and go to Chicago and see my family, or go all the way to New York to see a friend or whatever. So it's made the world like really, really small, and it's really like given us a lot of opportunity to just kind of put ourselves into like different cultures, different places, and see how other people live, which has been really, really nice.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of they don't really tell you how much it changes your life or your lifestyle as well. Like what kind of aspects are you speaking of there? You kind of talking strictly like the difficulty with sleep patterns. You're probably working night shifts. Are you talking about like jet lag itself, being in different cultures? Like maybe is it a bit lonely in instances if you're kind of
Yeah.
living in a hotel all the time? Like what specifically were they referring to?
Well, they say lifestyle is in like you're no longer working like a Monday to Friday 9 to 5. Like you could be on the run for like 6 days of a trip, 2 days off, 6 days, 2 days off, 2 weeks off. Like it fluctuates so much. And I actually found that of course it like impacts your sleep. And when you start with an airline, you're at the bottom of the pile. So you're a reserve. So they tell you what days you're on call and they tell you where you're going. So
Oh wow.
you might have a 4 a.m. check-in on your Monday. It might be a 2 day trip. You get back, and then you might have like a 11 p.m. check in, and now you're going to be awake all night. You think you're going to Hawaii for 2 days. Amazing. Your plane breaks down, and now you're gone to the other side of the country, and it's freezing, and your 2 day trip is now going to be a 5 day trip. So do you have enough clothes packed? Do you have enough food? A lot of people struggle with like eating habits and stuff and their food because again, when you're a reserve, I used to always bring a lunch bag with me with my food and I would try and pack because it's expensive anyway to be like eating out, and I just kind of always been like conscious about fueling properly. So there would be times where I would go to the airport with my lunch bag with enough food in it for my 3 or 4 days. They would call me and they say, "Hey, you're actually going to Shanghai." Great, I just throw it all in the bin because we can't
Oh, you can't
or in
bring
the
the food.
yeah, I was gonna say in the trash. I just throw it all. I just throw it all away because we can't bring our food into China. Like that's so it does. Your sleep gets impacted. Your food choices, your social life. I always found that doing it for so long that people don't know when you're around. So they kind of get used to like, assuming that you're away. So it would be tough when you're on working on the plane because it's like I think there's like 27-ish, give or take. I think between 25 and 30,000 flight attendants. So you might work with somebody and never ever see them again. So your days are packed with like meeting people that you can kind of you can make a connection with them, but it's not going to get deep. Like you're going to see them for your 3 hour flight and you might never ever see them again. And then I would come home and my days off would be like Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and everybody else is like going to their normal job and like going to the gym when they come home, having dinner and going to bed. So I did find it impacted my life in that kind of way too. It does make it a little bit lonely. It can be a lonely lifestyle.
What type of person would you advise? So, who should not become a flight attendant?
We
What
should
type of
not.
people?
Sorry. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take a little chug of my protein shake on my Guinness, my Guinness glass, because why not?
Obviously there's no video content yet on Mumbai, but just to describe for the audience, Tara has a pint glass, a Guinness pint glass, but it does not contain Guinness. It is a pint of a delicious smoothie. Did you say?
Yes, yes.
What's
Unfortunately, no, it's not Guinness.
what's in it for our listeners here? What do you have in the smoothie?
We've got 2 scoops of protein powder, and we've got a banana, and I think I put in a couple of strawberries, and I put in some hemp seeds, and I think that's all that's in this one today.
Simple and delicious. Great.
Simple and effective.
It-
Who would I say not to do it? If you are not okay with constant change, don't do it. Because you cannot predict. They told us that in training, like, and they always said, don't make plans for your layover until you get there because you've no idea if you're going to make it. My very, very first trip was to Chicago with a nice layover, and I was so excited because I was going to see my brother, and then the whole thing fell apart and none of that happened. And that was my very, very first trip. I learned, okay, this is what they mean. So if you're not okay with constant change, don't do it. If you are a really, really routine person, and some people are, and I feel like I try to be, but it's really hard to be a routine person if you're working for the airline. If you I'm gonna say like customer service, if you can't deal with highly stressed individuals, don't do it. And if you don't do well in high stress environment, don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's some very, very important advice. Like I've experienced, I haven't been that customer. I don't think I have not been that customer on an airline, but I have witnessed it. And then the other thing I think you said about routine, like even traveling, like when you don't work as a flight attendant, we are just traveling for other different reasons. Like sometimes it's really hard to adjust to a new area. Sometimes it's really hard when you're jet lagged or if you're living in hotels for a long period of time. Like yeah, if you're someone who
Yeah.
maybe struggles with a lack of routine, I can see that being a real big disadvantage. How did you, Tara, before we kind of segue into the health and fitness realm, this is kind of borderline with it, but how did you have to overcome some struggles maybe with that lack of social connection during your travels?
Yeah, 100%. And I found that the struggle kind of transferred to both sides. It's not like it was just while I was away. I found it transferred into my life when I was at home as well. Like I said, like everyone else is just living their lives and kind of forgets that you're around and stuff, because they're so used to asking you to do stuff. And you're like, no, I'm gone, I'm away, like whatever. But I guess 2020, we just had something really traumatic happen to us, like as a family. It's like super traumatic. And then came back to America and went back into the flying. And I found like that time, it was really difficult. It was really difficult to be like surrounded by people all day, but like nobody knew me. Like nobody knew my life. Like you kind of connect with people just like I said, just on that little, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say like
Like a
shallow
surface,
or what.
like a
Yeah,
surface level.
surface. Yeah, that's the word. Because I was like shallow sounds a bit rude. That's not what I mean. Yeah, like on a surface level, and then I would just go back to my hotel room at night, and it would just be like, okay, like I'm alone. And I found myself like falling into this pattern of being like, okay, only 2 more hours until we land in wherever, and then I only have a 1 hour sit before my 2 hour flight, and then I can go to bed.
Mhm.
And I eventually got to a stage where I was like, this can't be your life. Like I was struggling more and more with it. And I was like, look, let's just try and figure this out and see what we can do, because it's not that I don't dislike the job, it's just that it was really, really hard on me personally then. I needed stability. I needed my network and my connections, my social people around me at that time. So I kind of thought like, how can I didn't want to quit. I didn't want to give it up, but I also wanted to change my life in a way that's like that I would enjoy and be happy.
Mhm.
So I kind of thought, I know I enjoy like the fitness aspect of life. Even being in that career and like having that lifestyle that was so up and down, like, you never knew if you're coming or going. I always stayed pretty on top of my nutrition, and I always used to get good workouts in the gym and stuff. Um so yeah, I kind of thought like, what can I do to maybe find more balance in my life so that I don't have to fly all the time. And I ended up signing up for a 6 month course in a school here in San Diego called the National Personal Training Institute. I done an online personal training when I worked for Noom. I did that on the side as well. So I had the kind of foundations, but I felt like I was lacking the hands-on stuff. So I ended up doing the 6 month course in the NPTI. Loved that. I really, really loved that. And from there, I started coaching in F45. And then from there, I moved from F45 into the place where I'm now. It's like the movement warehouse. It is a strength based gym. So a lot of weightlifting and stuff.
Is the Movement Warehouse a local, is it a chain or a local gym to San Diego?
No, it's a local gym. It's a local gym.
Very nice. Yeah, because I
Yeah, they
know
just had their
no, go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say they just had their 7 year anniversary.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
they've been out for a little while, yeah. It's
That's
cool because
awesome.
it's like a privately owned gym by a guy called Michael and Megan, his wife. And it's really cool to see, like when I did start working there, to see like the community that they have built within that gym. Like they have members that have been there from like day one, like 7 years. I think that a lot of Mike's members actually came from his previous, I think he was doing like one-on-one coaching and stuff. Um but yeah, I was super impressed when I started working there to see like what a lovely community that they built in there. And they really have it like heavily focused of like, yeah, let's get a good workout in, but also they like to have their little social things. Like we do something maybe
Great.
once a month. So yeah, good.
Yeah, and then without diving too deep into the science, like they're actually still, that's not just, oh, let's take a break from the hard work and just chat for a while. Like there actually is something involved in those social connections. And even to tie it in with you, you know, when you're working with the airline, even throughout your time at the airline, the gym was, we'll say, a constant, or it was a constant kind of in the background.
Yeah.
Like you were still doing
Yeah.
your workouts, you were still involved, and then you managed, like fair play to you for having the self-awareness too, to realize, okay, I'm probably lacking in some sort of connection aspect, or whether it's routine or being with family or
Yeah.
friends. And it looks like you've kind of migrated towards like coaching and the gym work, not solely because of that, but it's one aspect of we'll say coaching or gym. Like it really does help to foster those connections for you, and it kind of fills your cup that way. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I got it. And yeah, it's that gym in particular, I think that sounds really nice. Like locally owned gym, they do have there seems to be a really good sense of community in there as well.
Yeah.
Around I'd love to talk around kind of health and fitness. And I know when we've talked previously, you mentioned that kind of you had an idea of health and fitness. You came into Noom, and it's kind of like since then your idea of what health and fitness is has been kind of evolving. Like, do you want to talk us through like what has been changing for you over, we'd say, the last say 4 or 5 years as you're in this field?
Yeah, working with Noom was I loved it. It was great. It was so eye-opening. Like obviously my background was in health science. We learned we had done like human anatomy, exercise physiology and stuff. We'd done all the like physical part of it. And we had touched on health psychology, determinants of health and stuff, like what factors impact your health and fitness, like where you live or the infrastructure or like just different things, but it just didn't go as deep into it as Noom does. So when I started with Noom, I actually we used to talk a lot in Noom about kind of different biases that people have, and we all have them. Like everybody has their beliefs
Mhm.
and their core beliefs and biases and stuff. I had kind of just thought from like basically being so like learning more about things like the muscles and exercise physiology and nutrition and stuff, calories in, calories out. Like you weight is a struggle because you just don't work out. Like that was kind of in a less harsh way. That's kind of what we were basically taught. So working for Noom and really getting to dive into this psychological aspect of people's health and weight struggles, it was super, super eye-opening. And I think that people were more vulnerable and like willing to share and stuff because we were just talking to them through a keyboard. So yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. There's so much. It made me like a way more compassionate coach and a compassionate person. And yeah,
Yeah, I think it is really, it's an interesting aspect, and I actually think it's an aspect that there's more studies coming out about, and there's like I guarantee you there's going to be so much more as we kind of like we still know very little, despite how much we know as a race, like about the mind. Like we still have so much to learn in that regard as well. And there was actually a guest I had on, I don't know what episode. It was like super early, and I reference him quite frequently. But his name is Murad Nadir. I don't know if you know him actually, Tara. He is a coach at Noom, but he has a story. He lost like 130 pounds. And he's from Morocco. He like really likes soccer. So he was trying to lose this weight. He was like doing every diet you could name. He was trying to go out and play soccer, and he just couldn't like shift the weight. So he coined, I don't know if he coined this term, but he used the term weight release. And it's really like, I thought it was fascinating because he said what he actually did to like trigger the weight release response was he started visualization and meditation. And I asked him, I was like, tell me, like, what are you doing? And like, you
Yeah.
just sitting down? Like, what? He goes, yeah,
Yeah.
like, I'm just sitting down. He's like, and I'm just thinking about, like, if you use soccer as an example, he's just literally thinking about how he's going to go out later and play soccer, or how he's going to prepare his food. So he had that, and he also had binaural beats, so like music at a certain frequency. And he
Oh
said
yeah,
like
yeah.
those like two things like helped to, he said it just like reduced his anxieties around things. And he said from there that's how he started his journey, and within a year he lost 130 pounds, and still stuff he does to this day. And I thought it just resonates with me because I think we, like you said, right, it can just be like, why don't you just exercise more, or like, why don't you just eat less food, like why can't you just do that, but sometimes there's more kind of
Yeah.
physiological and even more mental things at play.
All
It,
I can
it's
think
it,
of is the Notebook. It's not that simple.
yeah, right, yeah, what do you want?
It's not that simple. But it's
But
not. It's not that simple. If it was that simple, then it wouldn't be an issue.
yeah, that's why it is
But
like obviously so prevalent. We have a lot of other things with GLP-1s or another like area you can dive into, but I do really like
mm,
the mental side of it. Like I think it's just
yeah,
it's kind of an untapped area at the moment, but one people are becoming more conscious with.
yeah. That's so interesting with them. I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
Murad.
Murad?
Yeah.
Murad. That's so interesting. And like, I mean, I feel like that's something that would just be so interesting, just sit down and study. And I know I don't do much meditation, but I do follow a girl, an Irish girl on social media that's like all about that stuff, like meditation and the things it can change. I feel like it can totally change you on the inside and it can totally change your outside world. So he's obviously just like living proof that, that how much control the mind has
Mhm.
over what's happening in your body and over what's happening in your life. So
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
psychology aspect behind it all is just, it's been really, really eye-opening.
Yeah, there is a lot around like that mind body connection, that it's a two-way
Mm,
street, right? If you're kind of, we'll say, have good mental framework, so if you're correct mentally, correct is the wrong word. Like you're, let's just say you've rehearsed or you're well practiced from a mental standpoint,
yeah,
like it'll affect your body in terms of like the hormones you produce and everything, and like your body will respond positively. But on the contrary too, I don't know if people, this might resonate with people, like if you're super stressed or you're feeling anxious, like what is one of the best things? If you get out and do a workout, I could guarantee you like 100 times out of 100, like you're going to feel pretty good after the workout
yeah,
you're doing as well. So it kind of, it goes both ways.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't quote this as any cycle or scientific proof or anything, but to me, it feels like I know when I am in a bad mood, when I am in a really, really bad mood, or if I'm just like, I might not say pissed off, when I am
Uh-huh.
annoyed, that's when I'll do my best runs. And I don't know, it's like because we get all this like built up energy and stuff, and you just to exercise and stuff just gets it. Oh, my headphone died. My earphone, 1 second.
No problem.
Nope.
Just while Tara is getting her headsets all up and back up and running, I do want to acknowledge, thank you. I see a few questions have come in for Tara. I will be able to get to those towards the end of the show as well. So thank you so much for
Hear me
asking.
now?
And when I was doing my yoga teacher training, speaking of meditation, I honestly thought it would be the easiest part of my meditation. But then every morning, it was the first thing we did every morning. We had to sit down for an hour and a half and meditate. And you'd think it'd be something easy, but it definitely was not. Tara, are you back with us?
I hope so.
Yeah, we can
I
we can
am
hear
so okay. I'm sorry for all my technical technical difficulties today. I borrowed my friend's AirPods because I wanted to be cool, and they died.
you. No worries. For those of people who are repeat listeners of my podcast, they'd be like, Tara, don't worry. Like tech issues are an absolute regular here, so it's all good. It's part of it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I forget what I was even saying now before. My attention span isn't the best thing ever.
You and me both, right? We probably end up just repeating the same stuff we talked about. Yeah, I think we were just talking about the kind of power of meditation. I think you were saying
Oh
just
yeah.
how interesting it was from Murad's perspective,
Mm,
that was what helped him to kind of just really like weight release was the term he coined, and I think it's just so perfect. Like it helped him
yeah.
to reduce his stress, and as a result, release the weight from him both like physically and mentally.
And it sounds like the way he framed it, which is also so important, like how you frame things in your mind, and how you frame things in life. This is nothing to health and fitness, but I set up a Revolut account on like in a savings thing, and I named it Future You Loves You. And I have not touched that. Every time I like go in to touch it, like I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll just like take a little bit because this jumper is really nice. I'm gonna go buy it. I'll literally be like, future you, no, you can't do this to future Tara. You don't take her money. So to future Tara, you don't take her money. So it's the way that we weight release. Like maybe that's just more of a kind way of him, like saying like you're releasing it, you're letting it go, you're freeing yourself, rather than being like I don't know, just being. People can be so mean to themselves when they're trying to go through, when they're trying to change their bodies and change their minds and stuff. So I think that the way he framed it was really nice.
Yeah, yeah, I fully agreed. I think it definitely resonated with me, and kind of on your point there, I think that's interesting around people can be so mean to themselves. Before we kind of focus in on that aspect, and I know like you specifically have an interest in when it comes to coaching women one-to-one in this space too. You did mention about when you'd interact with people on a just a text-based platform via Noom, like you felt people were maybe more open to share with you because it was like maybe it was like a less intimidating space than if you were interacting with someone face to face.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, I don't know, even like let's say in your like own personal like relationships and lives and stuff, for some people it's just easier to say things through a text or to write a card or just than to just sit in front of somebody face to face. And I don't know about you, Podge, but I'm a crier. So sometimes, and sometimes it's easier for me to just write something to somebody or like send in a text and to say it because I'll just start crying. So maybe I think because there is that like I guess it's a little bit of a the screen is like a little bit of a barrier because we can't see people's body language and we can't feel their emotions or anything. But it's also kind of like a little like a safety kind of aspect, I think, nearly for people that are sharing that they're allowed to just like share their like raw emotions and how they feel. And sometimes they would tell us stuff that they've never told anybody else. Yeah, so I think it gave them a space to say something that they just can't bring themselves to say it out loud.
Mhm.
Or yeah, that's I mean, that's just my thought process around it as to maybe why they were more open. Um, but yeah.
I think that kind of speaks to two things. One, I think it probably speaks to like your coaching ability and being able to adapt to different platforms because yeah, it can't be easy for you as a coach to try and relationship build and get your point across if it's solely text based too. And then the
Yeah, it
second,
was challenging.
the second might just be that it's in demand. Like people are really yearning for like that supportive network, and like via Noom, they're able to get it. I know we have kind of limits on like what as coaches, like what we can support with. We can't go into like the
Yeah.
professional
Yeah,
clinical
yeah.
practice side of the house. But I think that does showcase that it's definitely a need out there that people do need kind of that increased support and coaching.
Yeah. And also like I was a group coach, so I kind of ran a group page. So it's nearly like I don't know, I guess it would kind of look similar to kind of like a Facebook group page.
Hmm.
So they wouldn't just share it to me, they would share it to like other people in the group, and it just gave them that like safe space to be like, yes, me too, or like, I don't feel exactly that same way, but this is how I'm feeling and stuff. So it kind of was like a little, a group space for them to feel like safe and like they could share and like talk to people that like understand what
Yeah.
they're going through.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I think it's a really valuable space for people to be in. It actually is
Yeah,
not too dissimilar, like selfish plug to Noom vibe. Like it's a very similar space. Like we're building a trying to build a community here, whether it's
yeah.
like a collective Noom vibe app community, and then people have the option to kind of follow or choose talks that they want to. So like in this talk right now, we have a lot of and thank you very much for being repeat listeners. We have a lot of repeat listeners, a lot of new listeners, and they can ultimately find what resonates with them and hopefully find kind of this safe space for them to usually to work on their health and wellness journey. But I think it extends even beyond that. Like we've talked big time about the mental side of things and trying to develop in general as a person, even outside of your it's all kind of health related, whether it's like mind or body type of stuff you're trying to build. Tara, Why why are people so hard on themselves?
Why are people so hard on themselves? It's a tough one, and I feel like I don't know, Podge. Maybe as a man, you can kind of talk to this as well. I feel like it tends to be women that are a little bit more harsh themselves than men. Um, and I don't know, is that because there is a lot of unrealistic standards set for us? There's a lot of unrealistic standards set for women to like look a certain way and be a certain way. And then social media is like life now, this it's just in front of us all the time. And it was like back in the day it was magazines and it was TV. And now it's just social media is this like constant hit of these standards that like the people, not everyone, but and there is a lot of good content out there of people that are like body positive and stuff and like putting good stuff out there, but then there's a lot of things that's like, even that person doesn't look like that. That picture's edited. And like, if even they don't look like that, how can you possibly look like that? So people just tend to be like in how they, like, especially women, how they view their physical bodies can be quite hard on themselves. And then I also find the other side of it of like, I feel like in the gym sometimes women come in just saying, feeling like they're not doing enough or like that they're, I don't know, it's just being such hard, like negative self-talk. And a lot of times I'm like, you're already ahead of the curve. I don't know if you realize that. Yeah, you can't, maybe you don't run 10K a day or whatever, but you're in the gym here like 5 days a week. You're conscious of like, looking after your mind, looking after your body. You're already ahead of the curve. There's like a lot of people that aren't in that position yet or are not ready to do that. So I think you kind of have to take a step back and look at where you are, accept yourself for where you are, show yourself some compassion, and like you can always strive to be better. It's good to always try and better yourself, but you don't have to absolutely shit on yourself for where you are now.
Mhm.
Like acknowledge what you're doing. Yeah,
It
does that make sense?
it does absolutely make sense, and it I think it's very apparent that in a lot of spaces there's an unrealistic standard that has been set, and like you said, it's not always an unrealistic standard that some few are like mega in tune with their training and are achieving this. Like it's a lot of the time it's literally not real. It's edited, it's fixed, it's
Hmm.
even now there's like AI can just like fabricate a person and like put them into an advert, put them into a fashion shoot. So it's even creating more unrealistic standards. And without
They're
getting
not even
too
a real
kind of
person.
it's wild. And then you add on top of that all
Yeah.
like the societal challenges, like you're bombarded with food advertisements. Like you can go down so many dark dark rabbit holes if you want.
Yeah.
Did you hear about, I don't know too much now, so I might do a really bad job of this, but did you hear about like the 5K influencer drama with Irish fitness models, like in
But
particular women? Did you hear about that?
no, sorry for a second there. I thought you were going to say about the guy that runs that 5K and interviews people while they run.
No, but
But
that sounds really good. I need to
oh, I
check him
love
out.
him. I love him. I think he's called, I think it's like 5K with Chris or something is what he's called. He's a
Awesome.
guy that's completely flipped his life around and he runs 5K every day. And I think, or I don't know, it's every day, but when he runs his 5Ks, he tried to bring along people and give them a little interview and like share something positive. He's a good positive person
Ge-
to follow on social media. You just got to curate your social media to make you feel good, not bad. But tell me the drama.
Genius.
Go on, spill the tea,
Genius,
Podge.
genius, Chris. So anyway, if you don't
Spill
want to
the
go
tea
down
while
the
I
good,
sip on my protein.
if you want to experience the drama, a story came out on social media, unsurprisingly, that a lot of these Irish fitness gurus or fitness influencers were like quote unquote running like 5Ks like every single day. And some people were kind of intrigued, going like, these people are like, how are they running 5Ks every single day? Like how are they so good? And it actually turned out that they were not, in fact, running 5K every day. They were just like making it up essentially. And I think it kind of speaks to what you're saying with the unrealistic standards. You might have a teenage girl or someone trying to get back into fitness seeing that and almost seeing that as the norm. Like, oh, like
I
I'm
have
not,
to run
I have
5K
to
a
run
day.
5K a day. Like how, like that's so far out of my reach. And then you can get like severely demotivated and it can
And what
lead
a
to suicide.
ridiculous concept. Like, that's just so ridiculous. It's like that guy, there was some guy that I also find, like, now that I'm following fitnessy stuff, that it confuses me. So it's really hard for people to, you have one person saying do this and one person saying don't. There's some guy that said, if your personal trainer is making you do burpees, and I think he's got like 2 million followers, if your personal trainer is making you do burpees, fire them immediately, because there's no reason why you should be doing a burpee. And I kind of was sitting there and I was like, why did you say that? Because I mean, you can only see my head, but I am quite a small person. I'm like 5'3". And I like doing all that kind of style training. Like I like HIIT training. I like that cardio stuff. But at 45, I used to win. We used to do competitions every Wednesday, and for me, I'm very competitive. I used to win these little competitions for how many burpees you could do. And I'm like, but it made me feel good and I was moving my body. Why would you ever say fire someone if they make you do a burpee? So sorry, that's a little bit off topic, but like there's all these like ridiculous standards of like run 5K a day, don't do burpees. Why can't we just be like, please move your body in a way that makes you feel good and is good for your body? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just so, I don't know. There's just so much stuff out there that it actually just annoys me.
Yeah, I think it's people would just want to be maybe controversial for the sake of like no
Yeah.
publicity is bad publicity. Unfortunately, like that feeds the algorithm a little bit too, do you know?
Yeah, and that's hilarious that that's it's it's such simple drama, but people lying about running a 5K a day. I'm like, it's just so silly.
I know, but well, what do you think? Like you said, I think it comes down to just moving your body, and ultimately finding everyone's so different. Like if you really like dancing or like doing exercises such as burpees, to me that is
Yeah,
much better than not doing any
than
of
not
those
doing
things.
things. Yeah, and I think like it's important as a coach to try and come and like meet someone where they're at. If someone comes to you and they have a goal of like, I want to completely change my body composition, I want to put on this much muscle, lose this much fat, and I want to compete in a show at the end of the year or whatever, then like as long as they're clear about what that takes, then fine. You have to go down a very specific training route. Like you're not gonna be ready to compete in a show if you're doing burpees and 5Ks. You have to figure out your goals and tailor them to it. But if your goal is like, I just want to get fitter or feel a little bit better or just move my body, like I think when you move your body and when you exercise, like all those good hormones are released. You have no control over that. Like you're going to feel good after it. So if there's people out there that just want to move and just feel good, then do whatever. Like I mean, I used to always talk about my little. There's one group I had working for Noom that used to be obsessed with doing dance parties in the kitchen, and to some people that might sound so funny, but like I said, my dad taught me how to dance. It was so normal in our house. My mom and dad both like to jive, and it was so normal in our house for all of us to dance in the kitchen. Like if a song came on, and just jive and stuff with each other, and it was fun, and we were exercising and didn't know. See, I think we like I don't know. It's just fun. I guess you saw it at the wedding. We all like to
Abs-
boogie.
Absolutely, Denise. That was a very good time.
Yeah, so yeah, I do think like just I don't know, move your body in a way that feels good to you, and I mean it's just as important to look after your mind as it is your physical body. And yeah, like I said, all those good endorphins are released when you do move your body. So I don't know, to
Yeah,
me it's a win-win. I don't feel like there's any kind of exercise that's bad unless it's something that is going to injure you. And
yeah,
then you can't do anything. Like running 5K a day and then you get shin splints and then you can't move. And then the next thing you know, you give up. Like you just gotta
yeah.
find something that works for
That
you.
we've spoken about this concept quite a lot on the show about building momentum, and being able to
Mm,
build that sense. Like, so if you have a goal too far out, like I'm trying to think of a term, like I'm coining it like January 1st, on January 1, like your mindset is like, I am going to list out fifty
everything.
50 things. Like I cannot wait. I'm like super, oh, this is going to be great. And then as
Yeah.
time goes on, and by I mean as time goes on, probably in the next hour or day or week, you start to realize like, oh damn, like these my goals are like so far out of reach. Do you know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna like go back to the status quo. Whereas if you create
Yeah.
small wins and build those as building blocks, so if you're giving the example of just having fun with your exercise, if you can actually kind of think, what does that mean to me? Okay, like dancing in the kitchen with my family or anything. It can be absolutely, this is where is the beauty of it. It can come down to you. And then if you can do it and like get a bit of momentum from that, it's almost like a momentum
It
bank, and
is.
it just builds and builds, yeah, and almost like
Yeah.
snowballs. I just think it's
It's
so
like,
important.
yeah, it's like that thing of saying like instead of being like, I'm gonna read this book this week, you can be like, I'm gonna read for 5 minutes every day. Like I'm gonna read for 5 minutes today, or I'm gonna read one page. And like you're saying, that momentum, that usually you kind of get into it and you read like 4 pages, whatever. You read a chapter. Or like sometimes I'm like, look, if you just don't feel like doing it, like these are my little pep talks I give to myself. I'm like, let's just go and we'll just do a quick 20-minute workout, or we'll do a quick 15-minute workout, whatever. Let's just do something and move our body. And you find that like once you start and you get into it, 10 minutes pass, 15, you're actually like, no, I'm actually good. Next thing you know, you have an hour done. It's that momentum. Like that's kind of the short term of it, your
Mhm.
momentum. But yeah, of course, you can build it across like rather than trying to do 5 million things in 1 week after partying all Christmas. Like let's just pick one thing that's doable. Start small and let's build on it and create some momentum.
Yeah,
It's
it can.
nicer for everyone.
Yeah, it can honestly make it's definitely nicer for you and your mind anyway. But it can make it can make a big difference. Those things over time actually are very very
Mhm.
significant.
Yeah, it's like I just did a challenge with my some clients in the gym. It was like a 4 week we call it a summer kickstart challenge. So it was just about building habits. So they kind of told me their goals and we did do a little like, a bit of nutritional guidance and stuff. But then it was like, right, what is your habit this week? Like what is one thing that you want to change? And then the next week was like, okay, let's try and build on that. Let's try and build on that. And it's just like it can start off so small. And then I actually just lost my train of thought.
I did. Hey, hey,
I'm
that.
actually like I actually like a squirrel. An email popped up and distracted me. But yeah, like it's just oh yeah, I was gonna say about compound interest or whatever. It kind of grows. So there was someone that came in during that challenge and he's like, I really want to do cardio. And I was like, cool. And he's like, but I just don't have time. And I was like, well, do you really not have time? And he was like, let me tell you my day. And he told me his day. Every day he owns two businesses, I think. And he's like, this is my hour that I have off. And I come to the gym. And he's got a family. He's just got a lot going on. So afterwards, he's like, I was like, wow, there really isn't like, that actually is, I'm quite impressed. You are so busy. But I said to him, I was like, why as a kid, can you make a 10-minute window to come in and hop on our gym is because it's mostly strength training. We don't have too much cardio machines, but we do have an assault bike there and we have a rower. So I was like, can you like hop on the assault bike for 10
Oh,
minutes?
oh my God! I'm sore already. Terrible.
um, I hop on the assault bike. I was like, you don't have to kill yourself on it. Like, just go and move, like rowing it for whatever it is, your 5 or 10 minutes. And I was like, how many days do you come to the gym? And he's like, 5. And I was like, cool. Can you put in 10 minutes every day before class or after class? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. It's 10 minutes. And I was like, cool. That's 50 minutes extra cardio a week that you weren't doing before. By the end of the month, that's nearly 4 hours. Like whatever, I can't count. But
Math
like
is hard.
it's yeah. So it kind of it does it. Math is hard, but it builds, and like you just keep building on that. And then before you know it, maybe it's 10 minutes, it's like 12, then 15, then 20, and then voila, he's found 4 or 5 hours extra cardio a month that he didn't do before.
Yeah, and it is like again, the sense of building momentum. And for those for those of you here listening who are maybe unaware what an assault bike is, I'll just do you a favor and just
It is as bad as it sounds.
just forget it from your mind. Never think of assault bike again. You're welcome.
it's it's violent.
It's absolutely terrible. I'm on it for like literally 15, 20 seconds, and I'm like, oh, like I can't do this anymore. It's too rough.
Yeah, yeah, but also you can hop on it and you can go a little bit slower. You don't have to like bust it out straight away. I
Um,
would never ever expect anybody to hop on the assault bike for 10 whole minutes, like giving it socks. But you can go nice and slow for 10 minutes, get your heart rate up.
Tara, just a kind of a slight segue. But it's speaking of difficult things, I guess. There's been stuff I see online. There's even been some like women that I interact with, and I bring up the concept of weightlifting, and they look at me like I have 5 heads and go like, I'm not weightlifting." Like, and the usual quote I get is like, "I don't want to get like really big
Bulky.
muscles, yeah, or
I don't
bulky."
want to get
Well,
bulky.
tell us, like, what like should you be weightlifting as a woman? Should you not? Does it depend? Like, what's your opinion?
Yes. You absolutely should be weightlifting as a woman. You should. It's super important for your bones. Anyways, women, especially if you go on to like if you do have kids and stuff, like that's pretty harsh on your body and it does strip a lot of calcium away from your bones and stuff. I'm gonna say I'm not a doctor here. Okay. I'm not a doctor.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I heard. Allegedly. No, and I just know that I can even go for my mom obviously had 8 kids and like sure her bones now she is osteopenia. I think not, or like what do you call it? Where it's like the start of your bones just can get like a little bit weaker and stuff. Weightlifting helps with that. Like it strengthens your bones, which I feel like people kind of forget because you have that impact on your bones. Um, But also you start to lose muscle mass, like especially for women that are 30 and older, we start to lose muscle mass every year. And yeah, it's just really important for your body. For I think for me, like my goal in life and why I weightlift, first of all, I enjoy it and I like being strong. But also I saw this video of this lady on it must have been Instagram, and she's like 70 years old, and she was going through like one of those kind of adult playground things outside, where she was like climbing up the ropes and then she was going across the monkey bars and she was doing all this stuff. And I was like, that's my goal. I want to be able to
Yeah.
live like a long, healthy, fit life where I can still do that. And like it just gives you better quality of life. I don't think that women realize, some do and some don't. Like this whole thing about getting bulky, it takes so much work to put on muscle. Like you have to be eating a lot of food and you have to be lifting some heavy ass weights. Like it takes a lot to get really big and bulky. So it's kind of like an irrational, I think it's like an irrational fear. Like if it was that easy to get big, massive shoulders, we'd all have them. Yeah. Like,
Says
we-
Tara here. And again, you can't see folks, but Tara's got big, massive. No, just kidding. She hasn't.
they call me Arnold.
Tarnold.
But yeah, it's just important for your overall health
Yeah,
and everything. And I think
definitely.
it's good for your confidence. That's just me personally saying. I'm like, what woman doesn't want to be able to do her own stuff? Like I'm like, I don't want someone to have to come and help me pick up something and move it. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it by myself. But anyway, that's a side point.
No, I think it's good. And maybe what might be less daunting is rather than like weight training, I would say definitely some sort of resistance training is
Yeah,
incredibly important.
yeah, even like I'm doing things like, also I think that women tend to get intimidated. I was doing a program for a woman lately enough and we put pull-ups in it. And like that is just like, oh my God, no, I can't do that. Like
Mhm.
that's resistance training. But I'm like, you can't. You can do anything you want to. You just have to start at meet yourself where you're at. Do I expect you to just grab the bar and start pulling yourself up and down like not a bother? No, because it's really hard to do pull-ups. But like start at your level, like start with like maybe let's start working on like the lat pull down machines. Let's go to the assisted pull up machine. We can use bands. You can jump up and lower yourself down. Like yeah, it doesn't have to be weights. You can use your body and bands is really good for resistance training and stuff. So yeah, don't get intimidated by it. I know it can be scary going into the weight section of the gym, but you can also do a lot of stuff in the little side rooms. If you want to start there, you can do a lot of stuff. In your own house with just bands and just your body weight and things. So yeah.
Yeah, like even for me now, and kind of I'm even thinking about into the long term as like as I'm aging, so that this might resonate with some listeners here, but having goals like wanting to be able to be active with your kids, and kind of I even extend
Yeah.
beyond that, like being able to just walk comfortably, come down the stairs comfortably, be able to lift your shopping in and out of your house. And a really big one as we kind of really get on later in life is like the sad reality is unfortunately like we might experience a fall in later life, and that work that
Hmm.
you've done can actually be the difference between you perhaps like breaking a bone or not, or being strong enough to be able to protect yourself on the fall as well. And I don't mean to like bring the conversation down, but these can
No, but
really,
it's
so
true.
it can really impact your quality of life later in life as well.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I would think there's some kind of correlation between people working out and stuff now. Like when I was in college, I did my health science and physiology, so I used to go to the gym and do weights because I was exposed to that from school, or from college. But it wasn't really a common thing for us then, I don't think. I feel like social media has really kind of pushed like more women to kind of the weightlifting part of the gym. Sorry, it's a fly. But it's a lot of it then is kind of based around like trying to change your body composition, your body shape. But it is kind of nice to look at it and be like, no, this is for, again, back to my future Tara loves you. Um, this is kind of doing it for yourself as you age so that you can live like a lot of people's like going to the gym can be like motivated by their physical appearance. But also, I'm kind of like, if you kind of look into it, of like, I was saying again, it goes back to my little future Tara loves you,
Yes.
my little Revolut thing. Um, when I go to the gym, if you're thinking kind of like you're doing it for future you, so that you can have a good quality of life and you can participate in all of these different things and stuff, and still go for like hikes in your 50s, 60s, 70s, like you're saying about the falls.
Yeah, I love the concept too of like the your future self and doing it for the love of your future self too. That's pretty cool. Cara, we've a few minutes left in the conversation. If it does time out, just will you click the guest button again and just jump back in because we do have a question from a listener that I'd love to run by you because you kind of mentioned around body composition and being in the gym and Laura has asked and thank you so much Laura for your patience. I believe you asked this almost an hour ago at this stage, but
Oh,
uh,
sorry, Laura.
oh, it's my bad. I'm a terrible multitasker. But Laura asked, how important is it to clients that their personal fitness trainer is in good shape themselves? So applying to themselves what they are teaching to their clients. Any opinion on that?
And I guess like, well, hello, Laura. Thank you for your question. I think, and my answer would just be very much like my opinion because I don't know. Like, I don't know what people are thinking. I can't speak for like how other people think. It kind of goes back to people's like core beliefs and stuff. I think that some people maybe would feel more motivated if their coach or trainer was in good shape. Some people don't mind. Like, yeah, it's a tough one because as a coach, there's a lot of people that say kind of you should be an advertisement for your business
Mhm.
and things. And then there's some people that maybe have you seen all the trends of like the Olympics and like people's perception of what's fit and what's not? Have you seen any of
No.
those things going on? Oh, it's really, really cool. It's basically diving into that whole thing again of like body composition and shape. Like just because you might be a certain shape, I don't know if you've looked at like most bodybuilders, if you ask them to run a mile, they probably most of them won't be able to
Mhm.
because they don't have that cardio fitness because they haven't trained in it. Then there's some people that maybe they're not ripped and not looking like to your perception of what is or your core belief of what is like in shape or fit or whatever. And these people, they might not look the part, but they could maybe do a sports event and absolutely crush you. So again, that I just really think that's something that like each individual person would have to speak to because it's just what people believe and what they believe someone to what being in shape looks like and what their perception of what a personal trainer should look like or a coach should look like. But a lot of us, I mean, most I would like to think all personal trainers have enough knowledge to provide you as a client exactly what you need and what your training should look like and what you need to do to reach your goals, regardless of what their body looks like or their composition or their lifestyle. I Some people be super motivated if they know you're living the life that they want to live. That makes total sense, but it doesn't always work like that. So
I
great
love I
question.
love how you made the differentiation too around like fitness in general, like what people perceive as fit can be so different. So like yeah, if I'm wanting to go in and my perception, we mentioned Arnold earlier, if my perception of being strong is Arnold, right? And I go into a gym and there's someone who can run a marathon in like record time, but like he's maybe like less built, obviously,
Leaner,
muscle wise. So
yeah.
you'd be like going sure this fella is not fit, but like he is absolutely fit and super fit. And I do have a personal story actually to share around this. And I think it's kind of like a don't judge a book by its cover scenario.
Yeah.
So I actually was in San Diego, Tara, as you well know. But one weekend we went down to
Yes.
Ocean Beach, myself and our buddy Peter. And we were doing, there was like a yoga studio that was offering free yoga classes. We're like, we'll just go down, we'll just check it out. Like it's Saturday morning, it'll be cool. So we went in and sat down, got all set up. I wasn't a yoga teacher at this time, but next thing, this gentleman comes up to teach the yoga class, and he like just picture a yogi in your head right now. He was not that. He was like that, like just I think he was actually wearing just like a regular t-shirt, just regular shorts. Like he just looked like a any Joe Soap kind of off the street. And my immediate perception was that, like I'll admit, I was kind of going like, why is this person teaching me a yoga class? Like they're not a yoga teacher. Like that was my initial bias coming in. And next thing we were going through the yoga class, and I noticed after 10 or 15 minutes, I was like, I actually haven't looked up at this dude once. And the reason I haven't looked up is because his cues on how to get into poses were like so good. As in, like he was
Mhm.
incredibly good at speaking and bringing you through the yoga flow as well. And I was just like super impressed by the fact that I was saying like I came in at the start going like, why is this guy teaching yoga?
Yeah.
And halfway through I was like, this guy is actually incredible. And then on top of that, what it inspired me to do, it actually gave me, I was saying, I could actually be a yoga teacher because I was kind of tethering, like it might be something I might do in the future. And that class was actually the class that solidified for me. I was like, okay, I know I can do it now because I don't have to look the part.
Yeah.
I'm not like super flexible. And that kind of dispelled that myth for me as well, that I don't have to be super flexible to be a yoga teacher. And I just thought it was interesting. I went in initially going like, this guy isn't a yoga teacher, and I came out going like that was like one of the best yoga classes I've ever had. And on
Ever
top of that,
done,
I'm
yeah.
inspired to study. So that was a big lesson for me about not initially judging a book by the cover as well in that sense. And I think the same ties in with what you're saying.
With the
That
question, yeah.
yeah, it's just a really good example that sticks out in my mind with that one.
Yeah, it is really cool. And like I think it also like to kind of tie two things together, like judge a book by its cover, and like we to just be aware of like these different core beliefs that you have about yourself, things that you believe about other people, your biases that you might have, like that. You're like, well, he doesn't look like he's about to lift his leg over his head, so how is he going to teach us this class? Yeah, just to kind of be aware of that as you kind of go through your day and kind of try and pick out points of like maybe is this an area that like maybe I could change my thoughts around and stuff. Because if you do like that, look how much it impacted you, Podge.
Hmm.
Like when you saw the other side, when you're like, wow, this man is actually super knowledgeable and knows what he's doing.
Yeah, big
Yeah,
time. I was
it's
saying it
cool.
wasn't just a yoga class. It actually like made convinced me to go on and become a yoga teacher then. So it's had
Yeah,
a huge impact.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And can you lift your leg over your head yet?
Oh, absolutely. I learned that absolutely not. No, I could
Go
if
on,
I like
give us a demo. Go
if
on.
I like severed my leg off, like this episode of The Simpsons where your man's playing American football, the boot just like his leg falls off. That would be the only conceivable way.
All I can think of is Barbie. You just pop it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I'm
Um,
like, hats off to anybody that can put their leg over their head. Good job.
yeah, fair play to you. If you're there, feel free to leave a few clap emojis in the new vibe chat.
A little clap for yourself.
Chat.
Also, sorry, I'm sorry. I know that we're running out of time, but it's just the thought that I had in my head when it goes back to that thing of like you're like, actually, I can do this. And I think for the listeners, like maybe a little takeaway point. Have you ever heard of that thing of people like they want to get into running, but they go, I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. And you're like, you can do this with anything, not just running. But like go outside, go for your run, and you've done one run, you're officially a runner. And then you start changing your thought process and be like, oh, I run. I
Love
am a
it.
runner. And you can like start applying that to if there's anything that you want to do in your life that you feel like no, I can't do that. Like I run, but I'm not a runner. You ran, you're a runner.
I
Go for
love
it.
it. And there's so much like psychological stuff actually like embedded in what you're saying in terms of that like identification. You identify as a runner. You're sitting on the couch, it's evening time. I'm sitting down with a bag of popcorn looking at Netflix, and then I ask myself, is this what a runner does? Or
Mm-hmm.
does a runner go outside and run? And now it's like you're developing a sense of identity with running or whatever. Like you said, it
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
have to be running.
It can be anything. People do with smoking. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm trying to quit smoking." But
Yeah.
if you start telling yourself, "I'm an ex-smoker," like, "Oh, I don't smoke. I'm an ex-smoker," that apparently can have like a huge impact on your
Your psyche, like just the
yeah.
way
What's
you
the word of
approach
like?
it.
But your success, yeah, your
Yeah.
success of actually continuing with your thing. But
Yeah.
listen,
Well,
I could stay here and talk all day. I have the gift of the gab, but I guess this this
we
podcast has to end at some stage.
we better. I mean, technically, we could just keep going. No, it has to wind down. I think a good place to wind down, Tara, is I don't know if there's maybe a takeaway that you could like leave our audience with from today's conversation. Does anything kind of stick out for you?
I feel like we covered so much, and I don't know. Anybody that knows me knows that my life is super confusing. They don't know if I'm on the plane, if I'm in the gym. I nanny a little girl. They don't know if I'm with her. Like it's, I don't know. Just this, like I feel like I could talk about this conversation. We went through like a lot of different points. Um, Something that I would just say you could take away from it is that like I don't know. I just always feel like in the last 2 years, I think that my thought process is like life is too. First of all, you have one life. It's too short, so you might as well do something that makes you happy, and that's like looking after like again exercise. I think and your health comes into that so much of like looking after your mind, looking after your body, um, and just yeah, doing what you can to make sure that you have your life as long as you can and that it's a good quality of life.
I think
So just do something good for yourself today,
that,
for your head and for your body.
and not just today, that ties in with the bit I think that sticks out for me. And it's like, do it for future Tara or do it for your future
Yeah.
self. I really like that concept that
Yeah.
you brought today as well. And it's again, we spoke about the concept of momentum, but you're kind of like putting things in your bank now that you know you're gonna like enjoy the reward in the future as well. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool
Yeah.
concept.
And also, I'm gonna say, if you're thinking about going on a trip, buy the ticket. Just do it. Spend the money. Go
Just
travel. Live a little.
everyone right now is getting on all the airlines, booking flights to wherever they want to go.
Setting up alerts on Hopper.
Tara, thank you so much. It was absolute pleasure to get to chat with you on an official platform. And yeah, we must do it again sometime.
Absolutely. All
All
right. Thanks
right.
for having me on, Pod. This was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for jumping on, sharing your wisdom with us. All
All
right,
right.
Tara,
Thanks,
thank you
Pod.
so much. Take care.
Bye,
Talk to you
everyone.
soon. Bye now.
Bye. Bye.
All right, folks, that was, of course, Tara Mullin coming in with some absolute nuggets. As I said, I think the big, we talked about so much today, but a really big takeaway was just doing it for your future self, being kind to yourself now, and just, yeah, just doing what you love when it comes to the health and fitness space too. So thank you so much, everyone, for jumping in. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Tara, for taking the time out of your day and the start of your weekend to come on with us. If you like what you've heard, feel free to click the follow button underneath my name. You will be notified when I go live. You will be notified when I answer questions immediately as well. And if you also would like, you can follow me on social media. You can click on my name and go to my link tree. You'll have access to all the episodes there. You will actually get to see a video version of the podcast that we've just done here with Tara and all of our other guests as well. So highly encourage you to check that out. Keep on building this community and we will go from there. Right, folks, enjoy the rest of your weekend and we'll chat to you all again soon. Take care.